We're two hitchhikers. We met while hiking Mount Baldy with mutual friends, wasted no time, got engaged on a frozen alpine lake, got hitched, and have been adventuring together since. We're embarking on a new adventure of living big in a tiny home. Let's see how this goes.
Adventure awaits.
In our last video, we covered entering into and driving through and enjoying Guatemala. In this episode, we cover exiting Guatemala, entering Honduras, driving through Honduras, and entering Nicaragua. And yes, the Nicaragua border lives up to its reputation. You truly have to wear your patient pants in order to enter this country by vehicle. We are at the Guatemala-Honduras border, and it's a huge truck convoy that we have to get around. Ruben right now has stepped out of the car and he's going to figure out exactly where we need to take these two vehicles in order to check out of Guatemala. Then we enter no man's land, and then we have to check into Honduras. So it should be a very similar process to getting out of Mexico and into Guatemala, but we will find out. Hooray! We made it through the border. This one took quite a bit longer. I think we arrived at 10:30-ish, and it is now almost 2. They just like to take their time, I guess, in a nutshell.
No.
There were some steps that we were not aware of. Initially, when we came into the section that is between both borders, so we exited Guatemala, and we're in this customs section where we parked our car, went to the customs window to check out of Guatemala, and we come to find out that we should have done this online prior to coming through the border. They advised us to go back into town and do all of this, but fortunately Ruben had enough Wi-Fi that he was able to download the app and fill out all of the forms for all 3 of us, and then we went back to the window. They checked us out of Guatemala, which was a super easy process. And in this case, everything was done within the same no man's land. We didn't have to get back in the car and drive like another 100 meters to go to the next country to check in. It was all right there. We had to pay a fee. It was
$35.
$35 per person. And then once we were checked in to Honduras right there, we had to walk across the parking lot to the customs section, the aduanas, and we checked out of Guatemala, and then we had to check into Honduras. Now, one thing to keep in mind that we were not aware of prior to this is double check all of the paperwork that they fill out. Jimmy's vehicle, they transposed a number incorrectly. They put a 3 instead of a 5, and that caused a little bit of problems on this end. So that is something that we also learned. We learned to
check your paperwork.
Check your paperwork. And what is super helpful if you're going through the Central American countries, because there are so many borders to cross, they require to see the original documents of all of the paperwork for the cars and yourself, but then they require you to provide copies. They don't copy it for you. Most people are sent back into town to make these copies. Fortunately, Jimmy brought along a wireless printer. That worked great. But if you can bring some kind of a wireless copier, that would be even better, because it is time consuming to take photos of the documents and then upload them to the app and then print them. So if you can copy them, that's fantastic. But that's essentially that. So everybody was nice. We did have to pay customs on a couple items that Jimmy is bringing over, so it was a fee. And
keep your receipts.
Keep your receipts. They need to see receipts on everything. They're okay with personal items like clothes and whatnot, but if you're bringing anything else, they definitely question it, and you need to declare it, because if you get stopped by an officer in any part of the country, they need to make sure that you paid taxes on whatever it is that you're bringing through. So things that we're learning along the way. It was just a long process, took 4 hours, but we're in. And
oh, vaccinations.
Yes, vaccinations. Bring your Vax cards if you have it. If not, you have to take a PCR test in town within 3 days of your border crossing. And they do take your temperature at this border crossing. I think we covered everything.
Yep.
Things we couldn't find out online or on other YouTube videos. So hopefully that helps for anybody who is traveling through Central America by motor vehicle. Another couple of items. When we checked out of Guatemala, they accepted the tax in either Guatemalan quetzales or US dollars. They did take US dollars. And then when we checked into Honduras, they only accepted their local currency and US dollars. So, I forget the name of it.
I'm just driving.
Lempiras. Honduras, much like Guatemala, was full of tuk-tuks, motorcycles, and plenty of people piled in the backs of trucks. The customs agent from Honduras did warn us that there were a lot of floods in the country and to be very careful with the roads. The road situation was fine for us. However, in this area, the river flooded, and unfortunately, it affected quite a bit of the local buildings. We're not sure if these were residential or business. Because we lost so much time at the last border crossing, we were trying to make up for it and get as close to the Nicaraguan border as possible. So we stopped for gas, a few snacks, and we're on our way.
Put it out of milk. No, it has a seed in it.
Okay.
All right? But if you just suck on it and have some fun.
Honduras, much like Guatemala, is incredibly beautiful. The roads were well maintained, and we were able to get safely to our destination. We did have one little hiccup though. At a standard police checkpoint on the side of one of the roads, we were asked to pull over because they noticed our out-of-the-country plates. All of our paperwork checked out okay, and after a little chit-chat, they let us go. So soon enough, we were on the road and headed to our destination, which was about an hour away from the Nicaragua border in Choluteca. Our GPS, however, decided to take a break right when we got to town, so this is where we ended up, but we soon found our Airbnb. Knowing that the Nicaraguan border crossing can be a tough one, we were up and out the door by 6. So we just got to the border, leaving Honduras and going into Nicaragua. Now, this convoy of trucks, we are currently 2.5 miles from the border. The convoy started at just under 3 miles. So all of these trucks are waiting to get to the border. We, as passenger cars, are allowed to bypass them, but we have to go into the opposing lane to do so. And this is just how they get it done here. So this is going to be quite the border crossing, and we'll give updates once we're on the other side. All right, we are reliving our border crossing from Honduras into Nicaragua, and Ruben is getting snippy all over again, just like he was at that border crossing. That's how wonderful of an experience it was. So to start it all off, I just want to say we had all the required paperwork ready to go. It's not that we didn't have the correct documents. There was one piece of information that would have been helpful for us to know going in, but we'll get to that. So initially, as we covered in the last video, we exited Honduras. You have to drive on the wrong side of the road to pass the hundreds of semi-trucks that are on the right side. It took it was like what, close to 4 kilometers, 5 kilometers, something like that.
It's 3 miles.
So you're having to weave in and out of oncoming traffic just to get to the border. And this is customary there. This is the normal thing to do. So we get into the Aduanas building to exit Honduras. That was quite chaotic just because there were like 8 different lines and they didn't have very good directional signage in there. But we finally got it figured out. We had to pay the exit fee.
Which was super simple.
Yeah, that was easy, and we were able to pay that. forget how much it was. It was like $3 or something simple.
Like that,
we got our stamp out. We got back in the cars. And there were a lot of people outside with wads of cash exchanging currency. It looked strange.
It totally is. And it could be, we didn't want to risk it when it comes to them having counterfeit currency that, like, you don't know how the other country's currency looks when you're going. And so you don't want to get like duped by monopoly money.
So we didn't do that. So we exited Gausale, Honduras, and then we're entering into Somotillo, Nicaragua. So we get out of Honduras, and right away we get into the Nicaraguan first checkpoint. And you're still on the wrong side of the road, and now we're driving up curbs.
Yes, you have to drive up a curb on a bridge.
On the wrong side of the road.
With a sleeping dog.
Yes.
In the way.
You actually had to honk to have...
No, it was Jimmy.
Oh, it was Jimmy that honked. Okay, yeah. I just remember hearing a honk. So you first hand your passports out your car window to a lady. She checks it.
Multiple people. It's either a guy or a dude.
But this particular point, she checks it, gives us the passports back. We're able to complete passing over this bridge. And then we hand our passport to another guy. And he comes out of this little...
blue building in the middle. So it forks off. You have the big rigs going to the right, and then you got automobiles going to the left, and he's smack dab in the middle of the fork in the road. Since you're driving, you're going to be going through, you have to make sure that he gives you a declaration form. Some people have gone through and just not received it. So you have to make sure, you have to ask for declaración.
Yes.
Because you have a car that you're driving across, you need to declare your car. Get that?
So he took our passports into this little building. You're, hoping that everything is safe. He comes back, 10 minutes later with our passports, this little tiny important piece of paper.
Yeah.
Don't forget this
very important piece of paper.
And then the blank declaration form that you have to fill out. So then he directs us to go get our car sprayed. So we stay in our car this time while it's being sprayed for pesticides. We're getting fumigated. Which was...
same. It smells like the grocery store.
It does. It smells like the produce section of the grocery store, which is scary. So we drive through that, and then we park in front of the Aduanas building. We go inside, and there's a few lines. We get on the wrong line twice.
So...
I still have mud all over it.
You go in, and this is where your adventure starts. So we go into the building, we go into the lines, and you'll probably see a group of people lining up against the wall. That's not the line. The line is the last person facing the window going into the check-in spot. People will be standing around. You have to keep on asking, are you in line? 90% of the time they're just standing around. So you get behind the person that's right in front of the window. Now, we don't know what we're doing. We go into the line and we hand over our passports, and he says, have you filled out your online form? I said, what online form? He points to that little sign right over there. So while we're trying to break down the communication of what's going on, his supervisor comes and takes our passports. And I'm just like, all right, cool.
And takes him to the back room.
Yes. He's gone for about 30 to 45 minutes. And he tells us, hey, get in the first line. So there's the first line that you go into. And come to find out, that is the line where people go when they do not fill out the online form. You're supposed to fill this out 7 days prior to you exit or entering Nicaragua. So be sure to do that. If you do not do that, you have to go into the first line and go through the process there. He will be able to enter you into the system. You finally pay your fee of
$13 per person. And the thing is with him, so they don't have a computerized system. It's all manual and it's on carbon copied paper. So you have to wait for him to do this for your passport. It's just a long process. And it's hot inside. I don't know if they had AC running at all. It felt a little cooler inside rather than outside, but we were all just sweating
because the sun's not beating on you directly. That's the only AC you got.
And Nicaragua does require to see either your Vax cards or a recent clear PCR test. So this is a person you handed over. So once we paid all of that, he directed us next door to the aduanas for the vehicles. And this is really where the fun begins.
Oh, see, that's the real
So
fun.
we get into the first line, not knowing, because that's the only line we see. We get to the front and the guy tells us that we have to go find the security officer. Now, she could be on this side checking people out of Honduras into Nicaragua, or she could be on the other side of the building checking people out of Nicaragua and into Honduras.
And the security officer could be whomever decides to be the security guard, because they don't have a name tag and they don't have a title. They don't have something that says, I am the person that's going to be checking you in. So good luck.
Yes.
Good luck.
So we finally find them on the side checking people out of Nicaragua into Honduras. She tells us all the copies she needs to see. She does need the declaration paper, a copy of that. So she says you can go into town and do it. Fortunately, we have that wireless printer. We were able to get that done very quickly.
Correct.
We provide her the paperwork, and then she comes back to the side that we need to be on, says get all of your bags outside of the car, take him to the x-ray machine. She gets a quick look around the car, making sure that there's nothing there that needs to be declared that we didn't mark on our paperwork. So if you're traveling by yourself, you're supposed to leave your bags there, because then you have to go get the cars scanned and your personal luggage cannot be in the car. So fortunately, I was there to stay behind with the luggage. I had to run those through the x-ray machines myself. Whether they looked at the contents or not is none of my business. Ruben and Jimmy went to go get the car scanned. All right, I am sitting here with our luggage. It had to be x-rayed and taken out of the vehicles while Ruben and Jimmy went to go run the vehicles through their own scanner, and the luggage cannot be inside, so I am waiting for them. I don't know if I'm supposed to be taking pictures, but so far nobody seems to be very strict here. Other people have their phones out, so I'm just doing a quick 30-second video, and this is all you get from the inside of the border into Nicaragua. I'm in no man's land, but we're trying to get into Nicaragua.
Yeah. So the way that you're supposed to go to get your car scanned is when you exit the aduanas, you're going to go back the way you came, and you're going to go around and follow where the big rigs are going. The big rigs are gonna pretty much just snake around the back, and then you just keep on bypassing the trucks as much as you can to get to the front of the line of the x-ray machine. Now, I'm not recommending this. I'm just saying this is how me and Jimmy took care of it. We went against the grain. We did not go the way we came. We actually went straightforwardly straight to the x-ray machine. We did do a little loop-de-loop, and we cut across in between the big rigs, which worked out in our favor. But if you have a really, really big car, you're gonna have to wait in line with the trucks, and you have to make sure that those trucks are moving to the x-ray, because if you get stuck behind a truck that isn't, well, that's your fault.
And nobody helps you. They just let you sit there.
Correct. So once you get into the front of the line, you let them know that you've already put in the paperwork, and because everything's nice and slow, it takes them about 45 minutes for your turn for your paperwork to be in the system, so that they know that they're scanning the correct license plate based on the information that you're giving. So what me and Jimmy went through, it was cool. Our information was right on point, but Jimmy went through without a hitch. I was driving a vehicle that has a hybrid system. They don't know what a hybrid system is. And when you have a battery that looks like 20 kilos of something, they're gonna ask questions. So I went through a crash course of hybrid systems, and I got a couple claps of like good professor, which was cool, but was an ordeal within itself. And then as we were waiting for our paperwork, these people that, oh, finding the people. So
It's like a big game of Where's Waldo.
Where's Waldo, yes. So
but
after...
nobody's wearing striped shirts.
Exactly. So after you go through the x-ray, they're going to tell you that your driver's license, which they take, your...
Passport?
Not passport, the declaration paper, and the other papers that are necessary for your x-ray process to go through, they have all that. So when you go through the x-ray, they're going to tell you, all right, go over there. Where is there? Well, it's a building. It should be a white building with red rocks. I think they really do this stuff just to mess with you. Just to mess with you. But so Jimmy and I, we end up leaving the staging area because we were told it's the blue building. We went to the blue building. It's a restroom and it has a small office, but it doesn't look like anybody wants to sit in there. It's like a sewage thing that was happening there, and we weren't sticking around, and we couldn't find the other building that they told Jimmy, which is a white building with red rocks around it. And we were just like, we can't find it. So we went around. We go back to the Aduanas office. And we're like, hey, we can't find this building. They're like, no, it's back by the x-ray machine. So once again, we drive against the grain. We're driving head on to trucks trying to get back to the back of the x-ray machine.
And I can sort of see them from where I'm sitting with all of the luggage inside the Aduanas building. I see them jumping curbs, hopping around. I'm like, where in the world are they going? It was like a wild goose chase. Meanwhile, I'm just sitting there with our luggage like, when are we getting out of here? It's already been like 5 hours,
yeah,
6 hours.
By that time, it was already 5 hours.
All right, we arrived here at the border at 7 o'clock this morning, and it is currently 12:21.
And so we go back to the person that did the x-rays, and I'm like, I am so sorry. I'm an idiot. Can you please walk me to the place where I'm supposed to get my paperwork? He points again, and lo and behold, there is a shack. It's a metal building, just metal posts with a tin roof, and 3 people sitting in the corner with the wooden desk with a couple of little stoops right there. And they have, I'm talking about that many stacks of IDs of people that either are going through or have gone through that didn't even bother to wait for their ID. They're like, screw it, I'm just gonna get another ID somewhere else. Yeah, it was crazy. Finally started talking to them. They explained to us the process, and we're just waiting our turn again. And they finally get to my paperwork. And when they get to my paperwork, they realize that my license and registrations, everything's fine. But apparently, the people that were doing the whole bebop boops in the computer for the scan left my driver's license information and my license plate information on a big rig that was moving hazardous chemicals. So they can't let me go. And they can't let the big truck go. So I'm in no man's land again. They figure out what's going on. I explain the hybrid battery system, and they're like, all right, cool. Where's your declaration? I'm like, I don't know, you have it. Oh no, we can't find your declaration. And they all playing this funny game of, oh, we can't find it. I'm so annoyed and angry that I will not and could not try to bribe them at all. I just wouldn't, because it's just one of those, like, yeah, I'm driving a nice car. Yeah, I come from a different country, but you ain't gonna puck me like that. You know what? I'd rather just waste my time than to give you money. So we sat there, and it got to a point to where they're going to get in trouble now because they're claiming that my paperwork is lost. So they finally go to the office, pick it up, and they bring it back. We finally have our paperwork. And then we go to the lady, and she's like, how'd it go? I was like, it went great. It was the best experience of my life. From there, I finally get back to hanging out with Tasha. And now she has AC that she gets to sit in the car while I continue waiting in line.
So at this point, we're back at the first window for the vehicle aduanas. And I'm thinking, okay, it's gonna be 5 or 10 minutes. There were probably like 6 people in line, 7, 8, nothing crazy. It was another 2 hours.
Yep.
Another 2 hours.
And we cut out a couple of things in this explanation. I know you guys want some details, but
you gave a lot of details.
There's so much more. It's just that we ain't got that kind of time. You have to pay for the stupid fumigation. That's $4. That was so easy and cool. That's why I didn't even go too deep into it. But you do that.
Yeah.
And then the lady, she makes sure that you finally get her stamp. Now, if I'm ever going to bribe anybody, I would bribe her, because all she needs to do is this, that, on the stupid declaration form, and you're done. But you go in, do your thing, and believe me, everybody that was waiting in line was at that point where they were just questioning life choices.
So out the door, we were there 8 full hours. So that was a very long, hot, patience testing border crossing. And we came in with all the right paperwork. It's just they take a very long time. They don't care how long it takes, really. It's just it'll get done when it gets done. And every single person we have run into or talked to talks about how terrible the Nicaragua border crossing is. I don't know if it's the same when you fly in, but driving through, it was a beast of a border.
Imagine sending the plane through the other one.
They do have people outside that are basically fixers that can kind of help you cut the line.
But that's the problem. There are so many fixers that if you're just trying to do your thing, they cut in line in front of you so much that it pushes everything and everyone behind.
So then we're out of the customs border process, but we still have to get insurance. So all we are told is once we pass into the border of Nicaragua, look, find the mujer con a tablilla.
Tablilla, yeah, tablet.
To get insurance.
Paper tablet.
Yes, so we drive through, and this is sort of a funny thing about, you know, lost in translation thing. We roll down their window and we see the lady with the clipboard, and she comes up and then she asked Ruben,
¿Estás seguro?
Seguro. And
no,
he's like,
¿estás seguro?
And he's like, ¿de qué?
¿De qué?
So seguro, what Ruben is used to means like, are you sure? Well, over there, seguro means auto insurance. Ruben's term, or a more local term for us, is aseguranza. So anyway, there was this lost in translation, and she's like, it's the law. You have to have seguro. And he's like, be sure of what? I'm trying to follow the law, but what should I be sure of?
I'm very sure that I'm tired of this border crossing.
So anyway, we pay her. She takes the information. It's
walks away with your life, because you give your driver's license and your passport and vehicle registration.
Yeah, the title. You have to show her the title.
Yeah, the title, sorry. All right, so roadside insurance. There you go. Nicaragua, y'all got some things going.
Look for the lady with the clipboard. You found the lady with the clipboard.
Service.
Then she comes back, and it's $12 US. It's cash with her, and then it was cash inside the aduanas. They don't accept debit or credit card. That was also a challenge for the Canadian couple. Poor thing. I would tell that story, but then that would make this video 50 minutes long.
Congratulations, everyone. You made it through Nicaragua. You're going to enjoy Costa Rica.
So who wants to go to Nicaragua now? Who wants to drive through Nicaragua?
Hey, that was a beautiful place.
It was very beautiful.
It was so nice.
It's
just the borders, man. What's wrong with the borders? But everything in between, the best. Super nice. Roads were cool.
Managua was a bit of a cluster when it came to traffic, but I think that was just the time of arrival.
Yeah, man. It's city living.
But because that border crossing took us so long, we did not stay in Nicaragua.
We didn't get to enjoy it.
We drove through. Did we? We didn't even eat.
No.
We stopped at a convenience store.
Oh yeah, you walk right through the door. What do you see?
Armed guards.
3, armed to the teeth.
Not a little pistola.
This dude literally is like with a full tactical shotgun right across his chest with the freaking AR on his like right hip.
Wearing a mask.
Yes.
He opens the door for you and says, Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Yeah, and then he offers to warm you your food.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. That's service.
Jimmy did get pulled over in Nicaragua. He did have to pay off a cop, but it was $40 and
He broke the law.
he broke the law. It was a police checkpoint.
Yeah, we got pulled over too, though.
Saw an opportunity. We got pulled over in Honduras. It was
Super chill.
They were teenagers with guns.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Pulled us over, but once we actually got
officials,
over to the side, yeah, officials.
They were cops.
I
legit.
say teenagers because the kid he looked like 17.
18 probably.
Yeah. But once we pulled over, talked to the guy, we got out of the car. They asked us. Everybody's super surprised we're driving down. They're like, "Wait, what? You drove from where? Why would you do that?"
Even they're like, "Isn't it dangerous?" And like, "This is your country, bro." Is it?
No, but they were good. It was like maybe 10 minutes and we drove off.
Yeah.
So that wasn't so bad.
This is its own episode, everybody. Congratulations, you get a twofer, because we're gonna do another one explaining how awesome getting into
But as
Costa
you can
Rica
see,
was.
we made it to Costa Rica just fine. So we are here enjoying the wonderfulness that Costa Rica has to offer. We're through the craziness.
Yeah. Now we gotta wash ourselves and wash the bike and get something to eat.
It rained hard yesterday, so we got stuck in the mud.
It rained so long. It was probably a solid 8 hours of rain. A wheelbarrow was 3/4 full. The wheelbarrow was empty, just sitting there, and now it's 3/4 full. It probably rained like what, like 20
I
inches?
have no idea. We get happy with 2 inches of rain at home. This was like a foot.
At least.
Pura vida.
Pura vida. Here we go.
So how is getting out of Nicaragua? Well, fortunately, we got to the border at night, and that seemed to actually work in our favor. There was nobody else there trying to cross except for maybe 1 or 2 other vehicles. But we did still feel like it was a game of ping pong, and their customer service is still on the same level as it was upon entry. There was even a point with one of the customs officers who was checking us out of, I think it was the last part of the process before we had to have the police inspect the vehicle. She was eating chicken there at the window, and she just wouldn't stop eating her chicken. She was picking at her chicken, and we had to wait for her to finish picking at her chicken there at the window. What can you do, right? You're at the mercy of the border and customs agents. So there was that aspect. And then one other aspect that we thought was interesting is that most of the borders, they're asking you to not take pictures. There's pictures, saying no cell phones anywhere, even though they want you to download these particular apps right there in line. But this particular police officer found it hard to believe that we drove through both borders, entry and exit, in the same day, and he needed proof that we were there, that we could have forged our documents. And so he asked us if we had photos. And fortunately, we both took some undercover photos, and Ruben's was the one he needed because it was the actual scanning one. And it had the time and date stamp, so that helped us, and we were then on our way and to the Costa Rica part of customs, which was super easy. It took 2 hours, no big deal. So that was Nicaragua. Well, that was a long one. Thank you for sticking through it with us. Hopefully you found this mildly entertaining and even a bit helpful, especially if you plan to do a road trip through Nicaragua on your own anytime soon. If you have any questions, be sure to let us know in the comments below, and we'd be happy to help. As you know, we made it safely to Costa Rica, so next Sunday's video will not be focused on any hectic border crossings, but instead will be focused entirely on good times and pura vida in Costa Rica. See you next week.